calling them. So yeah. So let me not bore you. We will talk about it later. Okay. All right.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ugudike. I think, I mean, you have said the bulk of what I have to say here today, to be honest. So we will start at 6:15. I think, what you've said is, quite useful for this presentation. I should have started recording it earlier on. So can you see my slide?
Yes, I can see
Everybody?
that. Yes, that's good.
Okay. So I will start slide share. So today we are talking about, getting your children or what ready for the grammar school entrance exam. So what I've titled this talk today is 11 plus ready. I guess most of you know me, but for completeness sake, my name is Ugonna Chukwumaife. I'm an anesthetist in training, final year of training. And I have 3 children, 3 boys, 2 teenagers, and a younger one who is in year 2. So let us look at the what's, the whys, and the hows. What's this 11 plus? Why are we talking about it? What is the grammar school system, and why is it important that we are talking about it? So the 11 plus exam is an entrance exam, to go into grammar schools and also into some independent schools. So it's like the common entrance exam that all of us back home we wrote between primary school and secondary school. Now, the difference here is that not all of the schools write this entrance exam. So the most of the secondary schools, the children will get automatic admission into the secondary schools, the comprehensive secondary schools, depending on the catchment area where they are living, without any entrance exam, so long as you qualify and the school can accommodate the number of children within that catchment area. So the 11 plus exam is an advanced exam. It tests on verbal reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, maths, and English, and sometimes creative writing. And it's entrance exam into the grammar schools. Now, you will agree with me that this subject it is testing, most of them are not taught in the mainstream primary schools. And the subjects that are taught, the maths and English and creative writing, they are not taught until later on in year 5 and in year 6. And some of those topics covered are being taught in year 7. So it's at an advanced level for anybody who is in primary school at that stage writing the exam. So for those who want their children, or the children who want to go to the grammar schools, they have to write these 11 plus exams. And for those who want to go to some independent schools, because a good number of the independent schools also write their own 11 plus exam, they have to write this exam, they have to pass it. And these exams are quite competitive, they are quite advanced. And so you need good preparation to be able to succeed in those exams. I think, Ugo, you said you went to one of the open days. I don't know how many people you saw. How many other parents or children came for the open day?
I've never seen such crowd in UK.
Thank
The last
you.
time I saw such crowd was in Main Market on Christmas.
Yeah. So about a quarter or a fifth of that crowd you saw will gain entrance into that school. So that's how competitive it is. So when I went for my own open day, it was a daunting experience. For me, the parents, I was like, wow, we are really in for it. So the grammar school system. So I've talked about the secondary school system. You have the comprehensive schools, you have the grammar schools, you have the faith-based schools, and then the independent schools. Now, the comprehensive schools and the grammar schools are state funded. Okay. Some of the faith-based schools are also state funded. And then you have the independent schools. Some of the independent schools are also grammar schools. So the state-funded grammar schools in the UK, they're about 163. And, they are in different locations. It's only in England and Northern Ireland. You don't have the grammar school in Wales and in Scotland. Okay. Now, the grammar schools, they place a high focus on academics and academic performance. Okay, so that means that they are encouraging the children, to be academically focused, to, they nudge them, they push them to bring out, their best potential. Now, for anybody to have prepared for this 11 plus exam, passed it, that says a lot about that child. That says that child is above average. That says the child is able to learn new concepts. That says the child is adaptable and the child can work hard and do independent work. And most of those children are above average, when compared nationally. So because they lay emphasis and they lay focus on the academic performance, you will find that those children, achieve high while in high school and even beyond. And you'll also find out that this high achievement follows them, into life. And again, this is not like an all or none law and is not a guarantee. There are people who have gone to grammar schools who have ruined their lives. There are people who have gone to state schools like non-grammar schools, comprehensive schools like Dr. Budike has shown us, who are doing excellently well. But it's just for us to, for me personally, it's to maximize any child's potential. So any child who has that ability, I want to be able to maximize your potential. A lot of teachers who do teach in comprehensive schools will tell you that it's very difficult for them, once those children get into teenage age, they become rockers, they are very difficult to manage. So you will find out that teaching them is not easy. And having spoken to some parents, I had a friend who, when they came in, the child, was going into one of the comprehensive schools. She managed to get the child into a grammar school. And she said that, 1 minute, please, 1 minute. Sorry about that. It was one of my sons. So this mom told me that when this child was in the comprehensive school, she and her friends, their ambition was, if we're able to make a C in our subject, and that was when the gradings were A plus and all of that. If we're able to make a C, we are okay with it. And if all we need is a C, that's fine. We don't even need to try so hard. But when she managed to get the child into the grammar school, the conversation changed, the ambition changed. They were now talking about, is it Oxford or Cambridge, or which school was it? Because of the different environment and the different peers, and how, the children were being nudged to bring out their potential. So, and again, I look at it, these children who pass through these schools, who, from earlier on in life, they have that ambition to achieve, it follows them through life. You find out that down the line, they are the ones who continue to achieve well in their different disciplines. So for me, 20, 30 years down the line, like Dr. Budike has told us, by the time he's retiring, I might be the one who will be anesthetizing him for his hip replacement. So these are the ones who will be making decisions, concerning us. And I want, representation at that level. So I think for any child who has above average ability, the grammar school system is not a bad idea if you can. And I'm not selling it. It's just a webinar to share information. So I'm going to share a bit about my own personal journey in the grammar school business, because I believe in personal stories quite a lot. So I have two teenagers and a 6-year-old. All three are boys. When we came into this country, we had two of them. That was in 2013-ish. The first one was about 5 years, and the second one had just turned 4. I had the opportunity of spending some time with my elder sister, who had three children as well. Older children. Her eldest child at that time was in year 5, preparing for the 11 plus exam. So I saw firsthand, the process and the challenges, and the success stories and all of that. She had two younger children as well. One at that time was in year 3, and her youngest child was in year 1, the same age with my first child. And I realized that she had already started preparing them for the 11 plus exams. And I thought, that was a bit strange. And she said, these things are not taught in the mainstream schools. So the earlier I start laying the foundation, the better for me. And then I sat with her. She talked me through all the prerequisites, how to prepare and all of that, which I will talk about later on. So I did adopt that style. So I bought some materials for my children, year 1, and then just reception then. And unreligiously, every day I'll just give them some work to do in the mornings when they're ready for school, that 15, 20 minutes before, we set off for school. I just give them some work to do, and they will do it and before going to school. Sometimes I will miss it. Like I said, it was not, religious at all. Some weeks I wouldn't do anything. Sometimes I'll be gingered up and, I'll probably do every day. And they didn't even know what was happening, but they were getting used to doing, independent non-school homework at that time. And this was what I did up until the year 4. So when my first one was in year 4, about the spring of year 4, I now became more intentional with work. I bought the materials. I will show some of the materials. So you have different companies who, publish materials for these exams, CGP, Bond, GL, different books. They are all in the market. So I bought them and they are all age appropriate from 5 years up until 11 years. And so I will get him to do work 1 hour every day. And then maybe on one day in the weekend, I'll give him a free time. I also got a tutor for him, and the tutor takes him 1 hour every week. Now, from that point, it was a very big struggle, a big battle, because he wasn't going to have it. He didn't even understand what do I have to do this for? I'm the only person in my school who is doing it. I'm the worthy nerd, you know. All the smart people who do very well in school, they're not even having to do extra work or even go to a tutor. So what is this? I don't want to go to a grammar school. Then there was this footballer who was trending, Marcus Rashford. Some of you may know him. So he went to the school, one of the schools in our catchment area. And my son says, I want to be a footballer. So that is the school I'm going to go to. So we kept, battling all of this, but I insisted. And anyway, he had to do what mommy said he should do. And by the time he got to the beginning of year 5, I registered for him to do a mock exam. This was very, very early, I think around April, May of year 5. I knew he wasn't going to do well, but I just wanted to ginger him, ginger myself, even see whether we are doing the right thing, see where we are. He went for that mock exam, and while we were waiting, he spotted one of his classmates. And he said, "Oh, mommy, that's my classmate." I said, "Okay, so that means he's here to do the mock. Does that mean he's doing the exam?" He said, "Yes, that's what it means." And he looked at, that was what broke the ice. Of course, next Monday they did talk about it, and in school, and it looks like that was when everybody, who was doing this exam came out. So it became, a talk in school. Everybody was now talking about 11 plus exam, grammar school, and all of that. So the conversation now moved from, I'm not doing this, I don't even want to go to grammar school, to, mommy, which of the grammar schools am I going to? Is it Sale or Altrincham? This is the one my friends are going to. So that kind of, made the work easier. It became acceptable to him. He wasn't the only one. He wasn't the worthy nerd in school, doing it. And that also meant that by then I had, come in contact with some other parents who their children were doing this exam, so we could talk and support and network amongst ourselves. So we continued doing this work, kept on monitoring his progress. I had to dedicate my time to it as one of the family members, because what he was doing with the tutor wasn't going to be enough and will never be enough for anybody. So I had my own materials and I will give him, I will mark it, I will sit down with him. Between that year 4 and year 5, a lot of learning was happening because the work he's doing is at a higher level than what he's doing in school. So he had a lot to learn. But by the time he came to the summer holiday of year 5, he had consolidated on most things. So the summer holiday of year 5 was, now to hone on exam techniques, um, accuracy, detecting common errors, looking at, formulas and easy ways of, answering questions, mastering patterns, and, all of that. And by summer of year 5, we became more intense. I got him to work maybe between 3 to 4 hours a day because we're on holiday and we didn't, go anywhere. So, in the morning, we'll do some work, have a break, have a leisure. In the afternoon, we'll do some work, correct the work we had done in the morning. And later on in the evening, we'll do some work again. We were actually, getting tired of doing work. But from what those who had done it before me told me, said continuous practice, just practice, practice, practice. Have more materials than you would need. He did 2 other mocks, and I could see him, progressively improve in, his scores. And the mocks that we did it with a company that will compare, him with other children nationally, and show you where he is. Now, the mocks, they will give you an idea of where he is, his strengths, his weaknesses, where you need to work on, but it's not a completely true reflection of what his performance on the exam is going to be. Now, on the exam day, we had worked ourselves up, we are calm, we had learnt our techniques, I had given him timed work to do. So I kept telling him, make sure you answer all the questions, make sure you go as fast as you can, because the main thing is speed and accuracy. Most children who have prepared for this exam will be ready, but what, separates the goat from the sheep is, speed and accuracy. And I told my son, I said, make sure you answer all the questions. So on the exam day, very crowded, rush, you won't find parking, we had to take public transport and, all of that. And then they settled, they did the exam. So in Manchester, within Trafford, there are about 7 grammar schools. Out of those 7, I think 4 are, single sex schools. So you have 2 girls schools, 2 boys schools, and then other 3 are mixed. Now, at that time, 3 of the grammar schools did 1 exam. Okay, then using 1 exam board. One of them, 2 of the grammar schools were faith-based, they set their own exam. And then another one of the boys' schools had another examining board. So he had to do 3 exams, to apply for the 5 schools. And then he went for this second exam. And then when he came out, his face was looking heavy. And I said, what happened? He said, Mommy, it was difficult. So I said, did you finish? He said, no. I said, okay. How many did you leave undone? He said, I'm not sure, about 30. And I just gave up at that point. I just said, okay, that means, you failed the exam. So there's really no point. He did the last exam, which he said it was okay. So when the result came out, the result comes out about a month after. These exams are done in September. The ones for the independent schools are done later on, maybe around December or January. So they will tell you about, when the exam will come out within the first week of October. So that day, the postman posted the results. Now, the children are not really bothered with the result. It's you, the parent, who, takes in all of this emotion and stress. And when the results started coming in, thankfully, he passed the 3 exams. So he was eligible for the 5 grammar schools. And then we chose the one we wanted. Now for my second son, he's in year 8 now. A bit different. I didn't have to fight that initial battle of, are you doing it or you're not doing it? Two main reasons. The first reason was that when he was in year 3, he had this friend whose brother was in the grammar school. So they were already talking about, the experience in the grammar school and planning how they were going to go to this same school. So, he wanted it already. And secondly, his elder brother had, done it, passed it. He needed to show that he was smarter than him. So again, that inertia wasn't there, but the challenges were different. Okay. He had a different personality, more stubborn, type of person. He wanted to do it, but he wouldn't do what you asked him to do. So we had to, go around it. And then again, he had less time because he also plays elite sports, which takes him about 16 to 20 hours a week on top of school and then on top of doing this work. So at a point, we had to, focus our attention and efforts on, the school we wanted to. He still did the other exams, but we said, okay, we know where you want to. Your brother is already there, so let's focus there rather than spread ourselves out so thinly and get nothing. So we focused our attention on that. And same thing on the exam day. He's a completely different person. One of the exams, he told me, Mommy, I didn't even try. I've done the one that we are looking at doing. This other one, I didn't even try. And I'm like, you've come for the exam. Why don't you at least, put in your efforts? But anyway, that was it. So the result was different. He passed the 3 exams, but he didn't get the pass mark for 2 of the grammar schools. But anyway, he got the school we wanted to get in. Now, with my little one who is in year 2 now, he's 6 years, I've already started giving him some of this work to do. When I show some of the materials, you have 5 to 6 years, 6 to 7 years. And then I give him, every now and again, I sit him down, he does the work, I correct it. He's getting used to it. He's getting that mental preparation so that it's not a completely strange thing, that he's going to do. So I'm going to stop for a bit now. And I don't know, from my own experience, has anybody picked up any tips, any challenges, anything, any comment at all before I continue? You can put it in the comments or you can shout out.
Yes, my child is just about to enter reception, so it might sound very early, but I wanted to know you talked about the tutor. You started 1 hour a week, but then eventually found out that was grossly under what you needed. Mm-hmm. So I didn't quite get what you changed that to.
So I didn't change it. So the tutor was 1 hour a week. Some people do one-to-one tutoring. We'll talk about tutors later on. So what I did was, like I said, I was committed to it. So I spent time with him as well, in addition to what the tutor was doing. The tutor will never be enough. And that's what I tell most parents. That's what my mentor told me. The tutor will never be enough. Some people don't even use tutor, but if you need to use a tutor, for me, I use the tutor because this is what she does. So she knows the curriculum, she knows, all of those patterns, she knows the techniques and all of that. And then again, because I didn't want to be just the one speaking to my child, let it be that there is someone else also, speaking to him as well and teaching him. And also for comfort, so that if anything went wrong, I wouldn't regret. I'll say, if I had known, maybe if I got him a tutor, the outcome might have been different. So what I did was that I spent time teaching him myself, giving him work to do, correcting it, monitoring what the tutor was doing. Okay, so in addition to what the tutor was doing, I was also maybe spending like another maybe 2 to 3 hours myself with him.
Sorry, you mean 2 to 3 hours a day or a week?
A week.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I wanted to ask, how do you find time to do this?
Yes. So again, when we talk about the next thing we'll talk about after this slide will be the challenges. So time is, really thing. I was doing part-time then. And it was one of the reasons I did part-time. So I was working 60% of the time. So that gave me, a bit leeway.
Okay, the other question I have is, you mentioned that during your son's year 5 summer holiday, he was now working like, I think you said 3 to 4 hours a day or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you get them to, children, small thing, especially boys, they want to go and play game or, run away or run around. How do you get them to stay focused and be disciplined at that stage?
Okay, so I'll talk about that later, but let me just answer your question now. So first of all, you need to find a dedicated time, and they know this is time for work. A dedicated place that is outside of no TV, no device, no nothing, quiet, no disturbance. When I was doing my own, we were using I got him to work in the study room, the room I'm in now, but he wouldn't, because then it was during the winter, it gets cold. So he would stay in the dining room, which is like a public place in the house. So when he's working, I tell everybody, please, he's working, everybody stay upstairs, okay, until he finishes working. We do the work in the morning most times. That was before the summer holidays. Do the work in the morning, everybody stays upstairs until he finishes. Then during the holidays, at a point I was taking him to the library. So I take him to the library, I ask the library for a room. We sit down there, I give him work to do, and I'm doing something else. I'm sitting down there. So maybe 45 minutes to 1 hour. Each paper will be between 45 minutes to 1 hour. He would do that, and then he will take a breather. Then there was a shop opposite the library, so it was an incentive for him. Okay, and 1 minute. That's not the charger. That's my earphone. Joshua has the charger. Close the door, please. Yeah, so I gave them incentives as well. So if you do work, if you do well, you go to the shop, get something. If you do work, you do well. When we get home, you can maybe have 30 minutes on your device or do what you like. Yeah, but again, everybody in the house knew and everybody was involved, in this thing. And we said, there was a period maybe of about 2 months, nobody switched on the television because there is exam in the house. And, within 1 week, we all forgot about television. So it's difficult to get them to focus. And that's one of the challenges. And it's not only the focus when they don't want to, children in this country and of their generation, they will tell you to your face, I don't want to do this thing. I remember telling my son once, and I said, I have my own exams, so cooperate with me. I have other things to do. I said, Mommy, go and do those other things. You're bothering me. Why don't you go and do that and leave me alone? And so those things, they will try you, but, you just have to be mentally prepared, to take that on.
Thank you very much.
Any other question or comments before I continue?
President, would you like me to just add something to what you said?
Sure, please.
Because these young girls, I can see where their anxiety is. One of the reasons I'd like to share this, I don't know if you were there when we did the first induction or something. I did mention this, one of the reasons I tried to do this, because I know what worked for me. I would like other people to think about it. And like you said, you have actually gone through what a lot of people go through in this country. I will count myself lucky because of my wife's position and how we organize the house. And I want to let people know that this is something I did. It may not be the right thing, or it may not be what works for everybody, but that's what worked for me. I've always, I was discussing with a Nigerian, he was asking me, how did you do that? I said, look, there's no way I did that. The only thing is that my house, I can describe as a little house full of books. I looked after a lot of people in Nigeria in secondary school and university. And I give them an example with my children. I said, look, you just have to read read and read. I was in Wales, like you said. There was no grammar school in Wales and Scotland, which was different. We were panicking about it because we didn't know how it was going to impact on us. Some of our friends in England were telling us about grammar school, how that is where you can get to Russell Group universities and all those things. And people tell you, you have to play the piano, you have to play flute, you have to play rugby, you have to do this, you have to do that. Now, my house in Wales, which I still retain, had 2 receptions. And what myself and my wife did was to dedicate one of the receptions for the children. So we made it a library. So the 4 walls were full of our books. So I went to IKEA and bought bookshelves, and the 4 walls was full. It was just like a library. All our books. And they had their desk. The 4 of them, they had their desk and their computer set up there. So that is where they stay. Like Ugonna said, you just have to put your feet down, but they will fight it until you get them to understand that you're not being just harsh to them. My second boy, who is a high flyer now, he's due to go to Qatar to continue to complete his research in sports medicine. That's the one in Queen Mary's. He was doing exactly what your older boy did, protesting, not wanting to do anything, just kicking the ball. And until one day, their school result came back, and he scored a D in English. So I was coming back from work that day, and my wife was all over the place shouting and then crying. And I opened it and said, "What is it?" He said, "Did you see what Brian did? He wants to bring shame to this house. He scored a D in English." I said, "Is that what is disturbing you? Brian, I know how to deal with you. I'm going to hire you a tutor." Because that is what they all dreaded. They didn't want a tutor. But I said, "I'm going to hire you a tutor, and that is going to be a punishment." And of course, I contacted an English teacher and hired. The English teacher came, and after assessing, he said, "Brian doesn't need it." I said, "No, Sarah, he needs that. I need to humiliate him. I need for you to come every Wednesday when I'm not working. You both are going to be in that library for that 1 hour, because he needs to know that I'm serious." So they started doing that. And by the time they did 4 weeks, it was the weekend I took my son to Imperial College for interview. And he took that opportunity because I went to London with my wife. And what happened that Sarah came, they did their practice, and she now said to Sarah, "Look, I think I'm okay now. I don't need you anymore." So he fired Sarah. Sarah said she was devastated, went home and told the husband, said, "This is what happened. I've never had this in my life." The husband laughed and said, "Leave Brian alone. I've told you he's a smart boy, but he plays a lot." So Sarah didn't tell me. I thought what Brian said was true, but Brian fired this lady. But do you know, he was the only person that had a distinction in English in my house. He did. It was that humiliation that woke him up, and then he never stopped up till now. So the reason I narrated this story is we are all doctors. What is going to happen to your children, just like we're going to have said to all of you, the bulk of the work is going to come from you. It doesn't really matter the school the children went in terms of going to university. What is going to matter is how you prepare them. And we're going to have just told you the story of how she did it for the first son and then the second one. So please, whatever you do, that's what worked for me. Resist the temptation of all these go to this party, go to that party, and you don't look into what children are doing. I have some of my colleagues who bought into that. You don't look into what children are doing. You need to look into what they're doing, because this is not Nigeria. This place, if you go in the right direction, they will pick you up and they start helping you. But if they find out that I can't be bothered, like what your son was saying until he went to that interview and saw any of his friends, nobody's going to tell you this. But you are there to mess around, and they don't want to care. But if they should see that you show interest, they will pick you up and they will help you. That's what happened to my children. So please, without wasting time, what I would advise all of you to do is to make sure you eyeball what your children are doing, and also let them know who they are. That is the most important. Let them know that, look, for them not having the skin they have and not being in this country, they need 150% to achieve what the person that is from here achieved with 80%. That's what I told my children. So please, I don't think I need to waste your time, but I like to talk about this to people coming, so that you know it is easy for children to get into getting with their friends and join the wrong group. And that is what ruins them. Our children are very smart, but they need guidance. They need that eyeballing. All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Wudike. That's really powerful what you have said, and I cannot agree more from my own little experience being committed. The parents who have shown commitment, and I said one of the reasons I did 60% at that time, so I did 60% for about 2 years, and in those 2 years, that was when the first two did this, and I can see the change. And parents, even if they do the exam and the outcome is not what you want, that investment goes, just follows them. From when they start working, the teachers will start telling you that, they're improving and, they're seeing the difference. And when they get into the high schools, you don't have to be pushing them to, do their homework. And they know that, they just have to. My children, they come home now and they're telling me what they got in their tests, because, I'm interested. I know when they have tests, and I sit down with them, and I have that revision. And when you work with them, it helps bonding as well. And I will not tell you a lie, it's very difficult. I've heard parents tell me, in fact, I will kill that child. I cannot teach my child. It's very, very difficult, because they will try you. They will bring out things you never even know that existed in you. But, I think you just have to persist. So the slide here is some of the, materials that are used for preparation. So if you go into the shops, if you go online, you will see the bond materials, you will see CGP. The different schools have different examining boards, and some schools set their own tests. So it's important that you know which schools and which examining boards, and also know which books that produce the sample questions for the examining boards. So let's look at some of the challenges, in preparing for this 11 plus exams. From my story, you will have seen that, the environment is the biggest and the first challenge. The environment is not encouraging at all. Some of the schools, you will hear the teachers tell you, why are you bothering? If you have to push, you have to do this, then maybe it shouldn't be. Okay. So in some of the schools, their fellow children will actually bully them for working hard. I had a parent who told me that the child, was on top, higher, and he was being bullied for even trying. So that's a biggest challenge. And of course, this generation, globally, they're not as motivated as we are. I tell my kids, in my own time, I'm the one who will find the lesson teacher. I'm the one who will know what is going on. All I needed to do was to ask my parents for money. But now you will find the tutor, You will do the taxi driving to the tutor. You will sit on them to make sure that they even do the work, like Dr. Wudike has, told us. So the generation is, and there's a lot of distraction as well. Like somebody asked, devices, games, other things, is there. The second challenge is, the child's ability. There are children who truly may not be able to cope with this. Some children have, learning disabilities or impairment. Some children, it might be that this grammar school is not for them. There are some who have talents that are not academic, that you might have to do better by encouraging them to develop those talents. And there are specialist schools that will develop those talents for them. For those who have some learning disabilities, some of the schools give them concession. They may give them more time during the exam. They may, give them a lower pass mark. So it's important for you to know your child and know, the circumstance of your child and walk around, your child, and even the personality difference. So my second child, very smart, photographic memory and all of that. The one he did pass, he passed really, really well. But this is, somebody that you have to actually sit there for him to do the work, so, and then some people might just be amenable. Girls are different from boys and, all of that. So just know your child and work around it. The third challenge is access to information. And I think that is very, very important when it comes to us Africans, okay? Many of us don't have that information. So, that's one of the reasons I organized this webinar. And some of us, when we get the information, we get it late. We get it late. There's little time for us to prepare. Like Ugo was saying, child is in year 5, you're moving, you're just hearing about, all of these things. So it's, very important that, seek information as much as possible. And for me, I like to talk to people a lot. If I see parents around, when I take my children for swimming in the church or everything, and I see those who have, children who are older than my own, I start talking with them. I want to know what is going on, especially those who, live in the area. Again, I've talked about the different schools having different examining boards. You have to know this information. You have to know dates as well. I've seen parents miss application dates for the exam. So you have your child working hard, you are working hard, and then you miss the application date. That's it. And these things are practical. Some people don't know the right materials. Knowing information about the catchment area. Again, we're going to talk about location again. Next thing is cost. So you have to invest time, money, your emotion, even your own career. Yeah, you have to invest. When I was doing it for my first child, I was also preparing for my exam. It got to a point I said, okay, I'm going to fail my exam because I have another chance. But this is his one and only chance. So, okay, if I fail, it cost me money, but I have another chance. It will cost less, but he doesn't have another chance. So that's a career cost. I worked part-time, so it cost me training and all of that cost me, losing that time and losing that money. Investing money in buying materials, investing money in tutor if you want to. Again, I've talked about the emotional aspect of it. Then location. So there are, 163 grammar schools in the country. So there are very few if that's what you want. And some of them are clustered. So for instance, in Manchester, all of them are in Trafford. So if you're not living in Trafford, it doesn't mean you cannot get in, but the chances are reduced. Okay, so small catchment area, and then you find out that within that catchment area, the houses are so expensive. That's even when you find either to rent or to buy. So that's why it's important, I think Somto said you have, a child in year 2 or whatever, or somebody who has a child in reception. It's not too early, because if you start now to plan it, you're not under pressure. It might be that is when the child is in year 2 that you will find the house if you start looking, rather than wait until when the child is in year 4 and then you're under pressure. Everybody is looking, and those who get in, they don't leave soon. So you can imagine me with 3 children. I did there, I agree, die, no leave, no transfer. Okay, even if I move, I want to move within that same area. So location is, very important. Now, that you're not in the catchment area doesn't mean you can't get in. The only thing it means that you have to score really, really high for you to get in. Okay. Then there are other admission criteria such as, sibling or the faith-based ones. You have to be, baptized in that particular faith church. So these are some of the challenges, and then you find other challenges, as you go through your own journey. But the good news is that despite these challenges, thousands of children are still getting in. So I think each of the school will take about 250, children per year. And so you can imagine 163 grammar schools. So thousands of children are still, overcoming these challenges and getting in. That means they are doing something, and those things are working. So from my own personal journey, from people that I have seen who have done it before me, who have done it after me or alongside me, these are some of the things that did help. So, and some of them I've already said it, so I'll be repeating myself. So again, desire it and plan early. I've talked about that, a lot. Give yourself time. You cannot start too early. You cannot start too early. Having the right network, like you've seen, if that child feels that he's the only one in his class, in his school, in whatever community that is doing it, he will struggle. So you need to start, talking about it, encourage him to talk about it. If he finds his friends are doing it, it will be easier. If nobody is doing it in his class or in his school, find another community where you can find somebody. It might be your church community, it might be your neighborhood, but he needs to know that there are other people doing the same thing. I mean, dedicated family member. I can't overemphasize this. Those who have left it to the tutor, the outcome hasn't been very good. A family member, a parent or a grandparent, or somebody will take responsibility to do this. So like I said, it was costing me another 3 to 5 hours a week, of my time, which includes setting the work for him, correcting the work, sitting down and doing the correction with him, all the talk, all the drag that we would do, all of this, driving him to the tutor, making sure he's doing the tutor's work. Sometimes they will misplace the tutor's paper, and then the tutor will, blame me and everything. So I have to make sure that you have not lost it, that you have not done it because you're doing it on the dining table. Sometimes they want to do it when everybody's eating. Oil, rice, tea, everything will pour. So I'm safeguarding all of that. It takes time. Okay, but somebody has to take responsibility. Call it work. Practice. Consistent, continuous practice. Okay, so at a point I had more materials than I could cover, and by the time I finished with my second child, I gave out some and I sold some because I thought by the time I'll get to my 6-year-old, edition will have changed. Okay, and then you find out that by the time the child has consolidated knowledge, you're not looking at exam techniques. You have to do these things over and over again. Some of them, you just have to master the pattern, like the non-verbal reasoning and the verbal reasoning. There are, different pattern of questions. You just need to master them so that once you know them, you know how to get through them. You've already, designed your own technique of how to get through them, minimizing error and, increasing the speed. And this comes with continuous practice. So there are practice papers and there are test papers. So for my children, the test papers, I got them to go through it at least minimum 3 times at different, times. So maybe, and I was monitoring their progress. So maybe the first time they do a test paper, maybe they score 60 or 65%. I keep that away. We do the correction. We leave it. Maybe we go through a set of papers. We come back again. I give him to do it again. And then you record the progress and you see whether he's, progressing. You're also timing the practice because they time them as well. Now, something that tests in English or verbal reasoning is vocabulary. And I must tell you that when I was doing this, I didn't even know some of the vocabulary myself. The only way to get through it is to get the children to start reading, read novels, read wide. Okay. But again, unfortunately, that is something I really, really struggled with, to get them to read. I bought books, but all that apathy to read. So what I did was I bought vocabulary books. I bought word games. So sometimes we'll play word games and that will help with their vocabulary. But if you can get them to start reading novels early and improving their vocabulary, it will help. Now, tutor or no tutor, there is no right or wrong. Okay. I know people who have done it without a tutor and the outcome was still good, and some who have done it with tutor, the outcome wasn't good. So again, it depends on you, your child, your circumstances, your affordability. Most of us are doctors, so we can afford tutor. Some tutors will do one-to-one, some will do small group tutoring, some will do large group tutoring. So it depends. One-to-one is, a tutor and your child, dedicated time. Small group, they will get maybe 2 or 3 children who are doing the same exams and tutor them together. And then large group is, like a classroom. Some also do summer schools, during the summer holiday of that year 5, they do the summer schools where they go between 9 and 3 and all of that. I've talked about familiarizing yourself with, the school admission criteria, because the schools, they have different admission criteria. So know the admission criteria, know the date the application is starting, know all the requirements, be on top of it so that you don't miss dates. I will also recommend doing mock exams. Okay. So the mock exams, some are done by the tutors themselves. Some are done by companies. So I used one, a company, I think it's called My 11 Plus or Online 11 Plus, and it's a national, company, and they have it in different parts of the country, and they have it for different exam boards. So if you go on their website, you can actually see. You can do as many as you want. I think they start doing it from May, and they do it every month in different locations. So what the mock does is, this is the first time they'll be doing an external exam. Okay, so it exposes them to that exam condition. It exposes them to different types of questions. So you will see, different types of questions from what they've been practicing, and then you can see how they will adapt to it, because there will always be surprises on the exam as well. And again, seeing that you're doing, the right thing. Other success tips, you need a support network. Very, very important for that child, and then for you who is taking on this responsibility. I can tell you how many times I called up my sister because she had a son, same age with my first son. And she would tell me it's the same thing, it's the same struggle that she's going through. So that would tell me that I'm not crazy. I'm not overacting. I'm not underacting. Okay. I had a friend who I will call, she had an older son, and she told me, my dear, do you know, sometimes I'll just enter the bathroom and start crying. Then you need a support network at home. Remember, this is extra burden on you, extra time on you. So you need, to carry people along. If you can get help from other responsibilities, you're a spouse, you're a parent, in addition, you're doing this, you're a professional, it will actually take a toll on you. So you need to get other people on board, to ease you. So I got my husband to help sometimes, even with the taxing to the tutor. Sometimes when my first one was doing it, my youngest child was about 1 year or 2. So I'll need somebody to hold him and, all of that. And I also had a nanny. So you need a support network. Is very important. Know what works best for you. What I did may not work for you. Okay. Like I said, when somebody asked the question, how to overcome all the distractions. So dedicated time and location, which is constant. The person knows this is the time it is. For me, it was in the morning. That's when I do my academic work. I wake up, my mind is fresh before the hustle and bustle of the day. before somebody annoys me or something, I do it, and then I get it done with. Sometimes I'll do it in the evening, but mornings were best time for me. And then we had a location. We knew that this is our place to work, away from distraction. And you have to monitor your child's progress, okay, to know their strengths, know their weak points. Every child will have something they're really, really strong in, and something that they are weak in. So you get to a point, you now have to start spending more time on their weak points. But children will um, differ on all of that. Exam day tips. Okay, so when you have done all of this, you don't want to mess it up on the exam day. So you yourself, as a parent who has been doing all this work, you have to be calm. You have to be confident that you've done the work. Your child has worked and done the work. They've really worked hard. So encourage them and help boost their confidence. Okay. Make sure you have healthy snacks and drinks for them, because it's a long, tiring day for them. So healthy snacks and drink. They need the right materials: pen, pencil, eraser, sharpener, gather all of those things. There are documents you will need to go with. Please don't forget these documents, have them printed out. Some of the schools will want you to get, signatures or stamps from their primary schools. Make sure all of these things are ready. I can't tell you how many parents have, you see them running helter-skelter. They've forgotten things. Leave early, find parking. It's a crazy day. I think one of us has said you've gone for the open day, and it's 1,000 people. So it's a crazy day. And I think on our own time, one of the exams we had to take public transport because there was no point. So leave early, plan your journey. If you're going to drive, leave early, park. You will find a very long queue, but I think leaving early is very important. Now, like I said, speed and accuracy, that is what separates the goat and the sheep. Speed and accuracy. It's very, very important. So the last month, you should be focusing on speed and accuracy, time, and find out techniques. So, my children, and I think many children, they like to do mental work. So you ask them a question, they do it in their head. They will get it right, but when they get it wrong, you don't know the point where they got it wrong. So I always encourage them, work it out on paper. That was one of the battles I had to fight. You need to show me working on paper, so that when you get it wrong, we can trace it and see where you got it wrong. And that is what will happen in the exam. Okay. And then answer all questions. There is no negative marking. Try as much as possible to get to the end of the question. Make intelligent guesses. That is allowed, and all of that. And then hopefully when you've done all of this, wishing you good luck. So I think I've been speaking for more than an hour now. I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments. I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah, sorry. I have a quick question. Sorry. For some of us have got children in the early ages, so I don't know what your take is about on Kumon, especially for those in year one reception, year two. Was it something you used, or is it something you probably advise us to engage with at this early stage as well?
Okay, so when my first two children were, year one, year two, I did Kumon for them. I think I did it for about a year, and I got frustrated and I just abandoned it. The reason I got frustrated was that, for Kumon, I have to mark the work. I didn't have time for it. And then Kumon works on repetition. So they repeat a lot, and then it gets to a point the children are no longer thinking when they're doing the work. So they're not engaging their brain because, it's repeat. So I did stop Kumon. Now, I don't know whether it's changed now or not, but at that time, Kumon was not focusing on 11 plus again. So it wasn't, something I did engage in. But, people think differently as well. And then there are other tuition, like you have Keep McGrath, you have which other one? I can't remember. So there are quite a number of other tuition companies, but that's my own personal feeling about them. Okay. Any other question or comment?
Yeah, thank you so much for.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I
me?
think somebody wanted to say something.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, thanks so much for this. I actually got my son to to join in and be listening. So I wanted to ask the mock test you mentioned. Where do we get the mocks, please?
So there is a company. Let me just find it. It's called, is it My 11 Plus? If you search online, they do yeah, Chakra 11 Plus, My 11 Plus. So they do 11 plus mock exams.
Okay.
So you can register online, pay online and everything, and they have centers. I think they have it. Yeah, I did mine in sales. So they will tell you the centers, or you can choose the centers where you register. And then I think there is a lady, I don't know whether she still uses a discount code. So there was a lady then, she's a tutor as well. And if you use her code, you can get, I think 10% discount or something. I can find out for you anyway. But the company is My 11 Plus.
Okay, thank you. The other question was for the Trafford ones. So which ones which ones do your sons go to, and which ones would you recommend?
So, well, like I said, people are different. So my sons, they go to the Altrincham Grammar School for Boys. Now, the reasons I chose Altrincham Grammar School for Boys, one, it's a boys' school. So let me eliminate all of that distraction first. I'm sorry, but I'm an Igbo mother. Secondly, the Altrincham Boys. So I had to choose from Altrincham Boys and Sale. These were my top. Now, so apart from being a same-sex school, the other thing is the Altrincham Boys is a lot more academic than the Sale Grammar, okay? And they're a lot more traditional, so with all of that, more discipline and, all of that. Some people will do better with the Sale Grammar, to be honest, because of, the different, they're a bit different. When I went for their open days, I could feel that difference. So some people may actually fare better with the Sale grammar than the Altrincham grammar. Then again, at that time, the Sale grammar was using the CEM exam and the Altrincham was using the GL. So for me, I preferred the GL exam. It was easier. That's what I think. But people are different as well. But now I think they're all using the CEM exam. So again, I wouldn't recommend any. Just, if you go for the open days, just get your feeling. And yeah, but I think again, the Altrincham, they rate higher than, the other ones. So.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned your second son is doing some sports. So would Altrincham support sports, or how do you manage? Is it football he does? How do you manage that with his studies?
Yeah, they do support. They do support. So if the club, they at a point, depending on what they're doing, and the level they are doing it. So because sometimes he has to leave school early, so they do work together, and they do monitor what they're doing in school, and they keep talking to each other. I think you're still muted.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Chief, you wanted to say something?
Is the gentleman, I didn't catch his question. The last gentleman that spoke.
Okay, he was asking about Kumon. I don't know whether you know about Kumon.
Okay, no, that wasn't. That wasn't in Wales. My children finished theirs in Wales before. It was the last year AS that we moved to England. Again, it was a bit dicey because when we got to England, the very first thing we wanted is to try to find a good school for my last two, that is Brian and Justin, who were the last ones, after they have done their GCSE. Brian had done his AS in Wales before we moved. So when we were moving, the Catholic school we went to in Southampton, we weren't sure they were going to take them because they didn't think they are going to meet up. You see, I still can't overemphasize what you're saying. The bulk of work has to come from the family, You just have to make your house conducive for study. Your house has to be compatible with study for the children. There's no two ways about it. It doesn't matter. You may not have all the posh furniture and all those things, but what I did, myself and my wife did, was to prioritize the environment for our children to study. That was what we did. And if you do that, it gives them that feeling that, look, this is something that has to be done. So by the time we got to St. Anne's, when they told us that they may not take the children because they may not meet up, they went to the interview with the school head, and after that he said, "Look, we want to have you." We weren't telling them again. He said, "We want two of you," and the two of them went. And in that year, Brian was the first to come out. Brian was one boy in a class because the St. Anne was changing to boys and girls that time. So at that time, Brian was the only boy in a class in A-level class of 70 girls. But he motivated a lot of them. A lot of them actually ended up going to university because Brian set the standards and then went from there to Queen Mary's. And then Justin did exactly the same. Now, I'm saying this for the opting time. If you're all doctors, you can afford tuition, you can afford anything, but it does not take away, it does not replace what Ugo has done. The bulk of the work had to come from you, especially the motivational aspect of it. And you have to let your children know. Because in Nigeria, they have role models, they aspire. Here, their role models are different. They are footballers, they are people who haven't done anything but got rich. And sometimes, if you're lucky, their role model will be those people who decided they're not going to come out of secondary school with anything, but they're going to survive because they're going to get the dough. So you have to make it clear to them that the culture is different. In Nigeria, you just have to be something. And also, I'm going to say this, maybe a lot of people might think it is so harsh, but one thing I did is each time I will drive around, I'm friends with my children. That's the one fundamental thing. I'm friends with my children. As we're driving and we're talking, I had 4 children. I have always made sure that I had a 7-seater. Up until now, even the university, I still kept my 7-seater because if we're going anywhere, everybody will have to be in the same car. And when we were driving, especially in the middle of the winter, the road work starts around October in this country. When we're driving and you see these guys doing road work in the middle of the winter, in snow, take your time. I don't think you're being harsh, but take your time to explain to the children that doing that sort of work is a choice they have to make at the time they are still young. I said to my children, you look at these guys, they were the happening guys in secondary school. They were the people who are not nerds. They're the ones that were good with girls and everything. So you need to choose now whether you want to be a nerd now and have a job like myself or your mom. I take them to their mother's office in the university. It is a huge office. She's a professor. And it's not just a professor, she's a professor to chair and a lot of research. And I said, you're going to choose whether you want to be in an office like this with everybody running around you in winter, or whether you want to be with this lemon jacket out in the cold with a vibrator, a jackhammer, trying to break the road. It is a choice you have to make, and you make it from primary school and secondary school. In the place I was in Hereford West, we had 3 refineries. And one thing that made me proud was this Nigerian boy. He's an electrical engineer. He's one of the engineers in one of the refineries. And he did a lot of work in that locality because he was going to secondary school, giving career talks. And Obuneme said to me, look, one of the things he used in starting his talk is to say to the children, you got to make a choice whether you want to be comfortable today after leaving secondary school while you're working in Tesco and you have your car, you have your girlfriends, and whether you want to have that good life for a few years and then the suffering starts, or whether you want to take your time and do the things you want to do, get your proper GCSE, go to university, and then enjoy for the rest of your life. So these are the things we need to get in the head of our children when they were still little. Because if they miss that part, they think that everybody is equal, they can just do anything and get away with it. No, they can't. Because like Ugonna said, if you miss that opportunity, that is where is the difference in this country. If you miss that opportunity, if you missed it, and they will put you in a trajectory, and that trajectory is you're going to be one of the electorates, the pool of people that have no future. We need to get it and get it right. I think I've talked enough now. I'm going to sign off.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's there's a lot. I'm personally learning a lot from you. Something that I wanted to say, I think it was Ugo that did ask about the sports, and also from what Dr. Budike has said. So my child, he plays football. But in that football, you will realize that most of the children who play that football, they're not anywhere. So I still encourage my child to ensure that even in that football, he's doing well in the academics. So there was a time they set up a writing competition for the boys. And I said, you're going to do that writing competition. He said, Mommy, I don't have to. I said, you would do it. Because I know that if you would do it, you would do well in it. I think maybe nobody will even do it, but you have to do it. And I got him to do the writing competition and he won it. So I'm saying, okay, now you won a trophy that has entered. In that football club, there is somebody who is also smart. So it's not that all the boys who play football have nothing. You have something up your brain. They were doing another competition, online about academics. And I said, you will enter the competition as well. And they give them incentives. They said, okay, if you win, you will get, what do you call it? You will get, is it the new FIFA? I think it was the new FIFA that comes out every year, and they give. I said, okay, so there's an incentive for you. Go and get involved in that. And then when he's doing this, the clubs are also taking note of him and saying, oh, this one is different. Okay, this one is not one of those riffraff children.
Yes.
all manner of things. So I'm saying that if you want to be a footballer, okay, but you will have to get good academics and you have to, follow.
That is what I said about this country. If you make effort, they will pick you. If you don't make effort, they will let you go. Get it in the head of the children. If you make effort, everybody will rally around because they want to bring up their performance. But if you don't, they don't want to waste time with you. Let the children know that. Sorry, Ugo. I just wanted
That's
to.
That's fine. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, I know this is the forum for the year 11 plus exams. Can you give me one or two lines on primary school?
Okay, so what do you want to know about primary school?
Is it worth, if you are looking for an independent primary school, or is it an outstanding primary school we should be looking for in a good area? What exactly should I be thinking about if we are going to write this 11 plus exam at this stage?
Okay, so at this stage, okay, if your child is in primary school, now it depends on where you are. Okay, now if you're in a place where they have good state primary schools, when I say very good, outstanding, I will advise go for the very good, outstanding primary schools. It will help your child, and you find out that there will be other children in those schools who will be doing that 11 plus, and again the standard or the level of learning will also be high enough, and so again, if your child is good, then he's good amongst other good people and he will be challenged. But your child is good and he's in the midst of people who don't really. So I remember when we came, the first primary school my children went to, it was later they told me, Mommy, that was the worst school we went to. They would teach one thing for how many times? And I could understand, because that area was, deprived area, and, the children, they probably will not catch, and all of that. And then again, you will find out that the parent, so then when we are going to school, we are not driving. When we enter bus, you'll be smelling weed. Some of the parents are taking their children and they're smoking weed, So these are the parents of the children who your children will also be mixing up with. But when we moved, you'll find out that parents are dropping off their children and going to work, and then they're coming to pick their children from work. So again, that environment also affects them. You might not even realize it, but it's affecting them. Independent schools, if you have money, but what I have found out is that the independent schools are mainly for parents who cannot really cope with childcare because they have the wraparound care. And again, I had someone who is a teacher in independent schools. It's about small class size, pampering the children and, helping those who are not very strong. So if your child is okay, good enough, I don't think they need independent schools. What they need is put them in a very good or an outstanding school. And if you can move to the catchment area, it's also very good, because if you keep it late, sometimes, because a lot of people play games with this catchment area when it comes to grammar schools, and the grammar schools are aware of these games. So they will tell you that you must be in the catchment area within a certain time for you to be considered as being in the catchment area. So, I mean, if you can, the earlier, the better. That's my advice. I don't know whether that has been helpful.
It has. Thanks a lot. It's really about, I think I just needed to hear if I think my daughter is strong and she's good, and they've said so at nursery. So I think she will cope and stand well in the school. It's just a bit of pressure around me about giving her the best, because she's obviously a bright child, whether I'm exposing her to the best if I'm putting her in a state school and things like that. Yeah.
There are very good state schools, very, very good ones. So if you find yourself in the right area, yeah.
So sorry, Dr. Ugo, I wanted to ask the last comment you made now. So what if you are relocating and you've not been in the catchment for that long, what happens?
No, I mean, again, you have your evidence to show that you relocated. Yeah, because they will ask, because they will say, oh, this child has been going to school in wherever, why all of a sudden? And then you have to show that you relocated. Why did you relocate? Job purposes and all of that. So all of that evidence will show.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to the person that's asking the last question, Somto, I think, if that's okay. Just to add to what you said, it's very, very important to make sure you put your children in an outstanding, if you are going for state, an outstanding state school. Even with the outstanding, make sure that they are really serious, because when we moved, my son in Nigeria was schooling above his year group because he's above average. Then we noticed that he came here, obviously, especially when you, as doctors, when you move in mid-year or something, they just put you somewhere. And then before we knew it seems like he's leveling up. So this thing Dr. Ugo was saying now, the environment, people around are not motivated. That's the word. They're not motivated. So before we knew it, he started plateauing a bit before we now stepped in to start pacing him again, and he now he's definitely above average by God's grace. So what I'm trying to say for those that have younger kids in that stage is, even though the houses in the catchment, if you want to do state school, even though the houses in the catchment is very expensive, you must make sure that you put yourself there. If you don't want to do state school, then you go and do the private schooling. Because if you just put your child anywhere, there are some Nigerians that believe, I won't spend money. I like what Dr. Ugo said. This thing is an investment. Sorry, I'm not there yet, but the little experience I have with 4 children, so I can give a little piece of advice. You must invest something, your time, your money, something must go. And like Dr. Ugudike was saying, we are doctors struggling with one exam. It's very difficult. I'm also learning. See the sacrifice Dr. God to make doing less than full time. But most Nigerians want to finish training, want to do everything quick, quick, quick. And then we now forget these children, which is the main reason we are here. I have a woman that advised me when I came in Kent. She was like, she called me and said, she put her children in independent school. She's a nurse. Her husband is a consultant. They were doing local extra shift to send money to Nigeria to do this, to put the show in independent. She said before she knew it, these children just slipped off, especially the boy, slipped up their fingers, and it was so bad that they put him in the uni. For years they didn't know that he wasn't attending the uni. Like up to like year 3, they discovered this boy is not doing anything. So it's not just about independent school, because we doctors, we have that tendency, I'm also included, so I'm talking to myself, to chase career, to chase money. But whenever I see, especially the ladies, I think you cannot be in this rat race. So I'm really, really inspired. Thanks, Dr. I think Ada is also here. Ada Okachukwu, she's also my mentor, because you have to take this slowly. You cannot just waste this thing. So what I'm saying is, I have 4 of them. My oldest is 10, and we came from Nigeria at some point. So I've seen the decline at some point in the education, that if not that we stepped in. And then at a point my husband said, enough, we have to move from this city once you finish training, because this place is not. So sometimes you even have to move city. It's that serious. You understand? So if you are, as a doctor, you can be anywhere, especially like GPs. So if you finish the training that brought you somewhere, if you look, this place is not motivated, you have to make the move. These are part of the sacrifices. You are going to a city that has the grammar school or has people that are motivated. Because like where I am, it's mostly they farm a lot, they do this, they're not motivated. So these things matter. Sorry, I just wanted to chip in my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, I'm really
Thank
enjoying
you. Thank you.
interaction. Yeah, thanks so much.
No problem.
Okay, any other comments? Or I think we've gone past our time, but we can take more questions and comments if there are any. Okay, none. All right, if there's none, then I think we can close. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. I hope you found it useful, and be that ambassador, use it and, tell others. And I'm going to plead those of us who are part of UNIMAA, like today we had no hosts, so presenter is the host and everything. Please, you can join the research and education committee, or you don't even have to join the committee, but you can help us organize these webinars, to help ourselves and all of that. So if you can spare, some time, I know it's very difficult, you can get in touch with myself or Amaka Achara, who is the lead for the research and education committee. And any other committee as well. We have the social committee. We also have the project committee. So yes. Somebody saying, will we have access to the recording? So it's been recorded. We will have to upload it to our YouTube channel. I'm going to find out from Modube, how we'll do that. So we'll upload it to the YouTube channel, and then if you go to our YouTube channel, you would find it. Okay, good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Channel, please. We will share. Okay, I'll share the channel on the platform, if that's okay. Okay, good night, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. I'm more great.
It's Oppie's toilet. Mommy. Oppie's the toilet. Mommy.
No toilets, okay?